Why does your hard-earned money keep quietly vanishing even when you swear you are not making any major purchases? Picture this. It is 11:30 at night on a random Tuesday, and you are lying in bed, the blue light of your phone illuminating your tired face as you scroll through an endless feed. You are exhausted from a long day at work, your brain feels like mush, and you are just looking for a tiny sliver of entertainment before you finally go to sleep. You are not actively trying to shop, you are just trying to decompress. But then, an ad pops up for a gadget, a piece of clothing, or a subscription box that looks exactly like what you need to make your life just a little bit easier or more interesting. It is only $20. You tell yourself that it is not a big deal. You work hard, you pay your bills, and you deserve a little treat to take the edge off a stressful week. The item looks sleek, the reviews are glowing, and the video shows someone looking incredibly happy using it. You feel a tiny spike of excitement in your chest, a welcome distraction from the monotony of your daily routine. Before you even fully process what is happening, your thumb hovers over that bright, glowing button that says "Buy Now." You do not have to get up to find your wallet in the other room. You do not have to squint in the dark to type out a 16-digit credit card number. You do not even have to enter your shipping address or your zip code. Your phone already knows everything about you. There is no moment to pause, no time to reflect, and no physical barrier to slow you down. You tap the button, the screen loads for a fraction of a second, a little green check mark appears, and it is done. You bought it. The dopamine hits your brain instantly, giving you a warm, fuzzy feeling of satisfaction and anticipation. You smile, lock your phone, plug it into the charger, and finally go to sleep, feeling strangely accomplished about a package that will arrive in 2 days. But fast forward to the end of the month. You are sitting at your kitchen table, staring at your bank statement on your laptop, and you feel a cold, heavy knot forming in your stomach. The numbers simply do not make sense. You have a decent salary, you did not buy a new car, you did not go on a luxurious vacation, and you have not eaten at a fancy, expensive restaurant in weeks. Yet, your checking account balance is alarmingly low. You start scrolling through the endless list of transactions on your banking app, your heart beating a little faster with every downward swipe. An online retailer, $20. A digital subscription, $5. Food delivery, $30. Another quick online purchase, $15. It is a relentless barrage of tiny, seemingly insignificant numbers. You grab a calculator, desperately hoping the bank made a technical error, even though deep down you know they never do. Individually, none of these purchases felt like a mistake. They felt entirely harmless. They felt completely justified in the heat of the moment. But seeing them all stacked up together, row after row, day after day, the reality hits you like a ton of bricks. You did not blow your budget on one massive, foolish mistake. You bled your bank account dry through 1,000 tiny paper cuts. You feel a massive wave of guilt and frustration wash over you. You promise yourself you will do much better next month. You swear you will delete the shopping apps, cancel the useless subscriptions, and finally get your daily spending under strict control. You feel like an absolute failure because you cannot seem to hold on to the money you work so incredibly hard to earn. The worst part of it all is the profound confusion. You consider yourself a rational, intelligent person. You know how to do basic math. You understand the long-term concept of saving for the future, for emergencies, and for your real goals. So why does it feel like your money is just slipping right through your fingers, completely bypassing your logical brain every single time? You start to wonder if something is deeply wrong with you. You wonder if you just lack the basic discipline that everyone else around you seems to naturally possess. You look around at people who appear to have their finances perfectly organized, and you feel a deep, isolating sense of shame. You are trapped in an exhausting cycle of mindless digital spending and monthly financial regret. And right now, you have absolutely no idea how to break free. If that sounds familiar, you are not alone. So many of us are trapped in this exact same cycle of digital overspending and end-of-the-month regret. You work hard for your paycheck, and you genuinely want to do the right thing with your money. But somehow, the cash just evaporates. The exhaustion you feel from constantly fighting yourself over these small purchases is entirely real. It takes a massive toll on your mental health to feel like you are always one step behind your own bank account. You probably carry around a heavy, invisible burden of shame. Society tells you that your financial struggles are entirely your own fault. Every personal finance guru on television screams that you just need more discipline. They tell you to make a tighter budget and stick to it using sheer willpower. They insist that if you just stop buying those $20 gadgets, you would magically be wealthy. This constant finger-pointing makes you feel defective and weak. It makes you believe that your lack of self-control is the root cause of all your money problems. But here is the truth. Your willpower is not the problem. Relying on willpower to stop online shopping is like relying on holding your breath to survive underwater. Eventually, your lungs will burn and you will be forced to gasp for air. Willpower is a finite resource. By the time it is 11:30 at night and you are staring at your phone, your willpower tank is completely empty. You have absolutely no defensive shields left to fight off the urge to buy something. The hidden reality of this situation is much darker than a simple lack of discipline. You are currently fighting a massive, invisible war, and you did not even know you were drafted. On one side of the battlefield is you, tired after a long day and just wanting a tiny dopamine hit. On the other side is a multi-billion-dollar machine designed by the smartest engineers and psychologists on the planet. Their sole purpose in life is to separate you from your money as quickly as possible, and they are winning. Think about how our parents and grandparents used to shop. If they wanted to buy something, it required physical and mental effort. They had to get dressed, grab their keys, and drive a car to a physical store. They had to walk through the aisles and physically pick the item up. The most important part of that old process was the payment itself. They had to open a wallet, pull out physical paper money, and hand it to another human being. Every single step in that process was a moment of friction. Every step was a chance for the brain to wake up. Today, all of that friction has been systematically destroyed. The modern economy thrives on eliminating every possible barrier between your desire and your purchase. They do not want you to think. They do not want you to pause. They certainly do not want you to feel the pain of parting with your cash. The invention of one-click buying was not a convenience feature for you. It was a weapon designed to bypass your logical brain entirely. When you remove the friction from spending, you remove the pain of paying. Psychologists call this the pain of paying, and it is a crucial mechanism for keeping our budgets intact. When we hand over physical cash, the pain center in our brain literally lights up. But when you just tap a glowing screen, that pain center stays completely silent. Your brain does not even register that a financial transaction just occurred. You are experiencing the illusion of control. You think you are making conscious, independent choices when you scroll through an app and tap buy. But in reality, you are just reacting to a carefully orchestrated series of prompts. The colors of the buttons, the artificial countdown timers, and the targeted notifications are all designed to override your critical thinking. You are playing a game where the rules are heavily rigged against you. To actually stop this cycle, we have to look past our own feelings of guilt. We have to look at the massive societal shift that normalized this hyper-speed spending in the first place. We have to look at the massive societal shift that normalized this hyper-speed spending in the first place. We have to understand the hard data behind how much money is quietly slipping out the back door of the average home. Because once you see the numbers, you will realize just how intentional this entire system really is. If we take a step back and look at the actual numbers, the reality of this silent financial bleeding becomes terrifyingly clear. You are definitely not the only person staring at a bank account at the end of the month wondering where all the money went. This is a quiet epidemic that is keeping an entire generation trapped on a financial treadmill. Recent data from Bankrate shows that more than half of all adults are currently living paycheck to paycheck. And while the rising cost of groceries and housing certainly plays a massive role in that struggle, a huge, unspoken chunk of our collective financial stress is tied directly to frictionless digital spending. The statistics surrounding impulse buying are genuinely staggering. The average person blows hundreds of dollars every single month on unplanned online purchases without even fully registering the transactions. When you multiply that out over an entire year, you are looking at thousands of dollars completely vanishing into thin air. That is money that should be sitting safely in your emergency fund. That is money that could be invested for your future or used to finally pay off a lingering credit card balance. Instead, that wealth is quietly being transferred from your pocket to the bank accounts of giant tech corporations, $10 and $20 at a time. We have to understand the deeply flawed societal structure we are currently living in. We live in a hyper-consumption economy where the entire infrastructure of the internet is funded by advertising. The social media platforms you use to unwind are not actually free. You are paying for them with your attention, your data, and ultimately, your wallet. The overarching goal of these platforms is not to connect you with friends or keep you entertained. Their primary objective is to keep you scrolling long enough to serve you a perfectly timed, highly targeted advertisement. Think about the sheer asymmetry of the battlefield you step onto every time you unlock your smartphone. It is just you, exhausted, after a long day of working and commuting, armed with nothing but a depleted sense of willpower. On the other side of the screen are supercomputers, and thousands of the highest-paid data scientists and behavioral psychologists in the world. They have mapped out exactly how human beings think, how we feel, and how we react to specific triggers. They know exactly what colors make us tap, what words make us feel a sense of urgency, and what images trigger a deep sense of longing. These algorithms are not just tracking what you buy, they are tracking how long your eyes linger on a specific video of a new kitchen gadget. They know what time of day you typically feel the most stressed or the most bored. They wait patiently in the background, analyzing your digital footprint until the exact moment your defenses are at their lowest. Then they strike. They serve up the perfect product at the perfect price, complete with a countdown timer claiming the sale ends in 10 minutes and a glowing button that requires zero effort to press. Furthermore, this system has normalized a deeply toxic relationship with debt. In the past, going into debt was a serious process that required paperwork and approval. Today, the concept of microdebt has infected nearly every single checkout page on the internet. Buy now, pay later services are aggressively pushed for purchases as small as a pair of shoes or a takeout dinner. The system encourages you to slice a $40 purchase into 4 easy payments of $10, tricking your brain into thinking the item is practically free. It is a brilliant, malicious design meant to obscure the true cost of your consumption. When you start to see the machinery operating behind the curtain, a profound shift needs to happen in your mind. You have to let go of the immense shame you have been carrying around regarding your financial failures. When the entire modern ecosystem is heavily engineered to extract wealth from you via 1,000 tiny frictionless taps, your failure to save money is not a moral failing. It is the expected, calculated outcome of a brilliantly designed system. The system is not broken. It is working exactly as it was designed to work, and you are the product. You are essentially swimming against a massive, incredibly powerful current. You cannot simply outswim a multi-billion-dollar algorithmic river of targeted ads and frictionless checkouts using nothing but good intentions. Beating yourself up because you gave in to a cleverly disguised impulse buy at midnight is like beating yourself up for getting wet when you are standing in the middle of a thunderstorm. It is the natural consequence of your environment. Realizing that the game is entirely rigged against you is incredibly liberating. It means you can finally stop relying on the outdated, useless advice of simply trying harder. You do not need to feel bad about your lack of discipline anymore, because discipline was never going to save you in a frictionless environment anyway. Once you accept that willpower is a losing strategy against supercomputers, you can start fighting back using the only weapon that actually works. You have to understand the exact psychological blind spots they are exploiting, so you can build mechanical walls to protect yourself. Here's what most people don't realize. When you are staring at your phone late at night and feeling that sudden, intense urge to buy something, you are not actually craving the physical product itself. You are craving the chemical reaction that the product promises to deliver. You are locked in a biological loop that is millions of years old, completely hijacked by modern technology. To understand why your money keeps vanishing, we have to look closely at a neurotransmitter in your brain called dopamine. Most people misunderstand how dopamine actually works. We tend to think of it as the pleasure chemical, the reward we get when we finally achieve a goal or acquire something new. But neuroscientists will tell you that dopamine is not about the reward itself. It is about the anticipation of the reward. It is the chemical of desire, of wanting, of craving. Dopamine is what motivates you to take action to get something you do not currently have. When you see a targeted ad for a clever gadget or a beautiful piece of clothing, your brain immediately releases a massive surge of dopamine. Your mind instantly projects a fantasy of how much better, easier, or cooler your life will be once you own that item. The absolute peak of that dopamine rush happens right in the split second before you tap the buy button. That is the moment of maximum excitement and maximum anticipation. But here is the tragic irony of online shopping. The moment the digital transaction is complete, that dopamine level plummets. The biological objective has been achieved, the hunt is over, and your brain stops pumping the feel-good chemicals. This is exactly why the actual arrival of the package 2 days later often feels so anticlimactic. You open the cardboard box, look at the item you desperately wanted 48 hours ago, and feel absolutely nothing. The magic was never in the object. The magic was in the momentary illusion of acquiring it. This biological trap is heavily compounded by a concept in behavioral economics known as mental accounting. Mental accounting is a cognitive bias where we place different values on money depending on how it is categorized in our heads. When you are standing in a store holding a crisp $100 bill, your brain registers that piece of paper as highly valuable. You will hesitate to break a $100 bill for a cheap impulse purchase because the physical loss is incredibly obvious. However, your brain has absolutely no evolutionary framework for understanding invisible digital numbers floating on a glowing screen. When you spend $20 through an app, your brain categorizes it entirely differently than physical cash. It logs it as a minor, insignificant microtransaction. And because your brain treats $20 as basically nothing, it allows you to repeat that behavior 5 times in a single week without ever sounding the internal alarm bells. Your logical brain knows that 5 times 20 equals 100, but your emotional brain simply logs 5 meaningless events. On top of mental accounting and dopamine loops, you are also battling a severely underestimated phenomenon called decision fatigue. Every single day, you are forced to make thousands of micro-choices. You decide what to wear, what to say in a stressful work email, what to eat for lunch, and how to navigate traffic on the way home. Every single one of these choices, no matter how small, burns a tiny amount of glucose in your prefrontal cortex, which is the logical, rational part of your brain. By the time the sun goes down and you are finally sitting on your couch, your prefrontal cortex is completely exhausted. It is running on empty. The rational adult inside your head has essentially gone to sleep, leaving the impulsive, emotionally driven toddler completely in charge of the steering wheel. This is why you are infinitely more likely to make a foolish financial decision at 11 at night than you are at 11 in the morning. Your defense systems are completely offline. Frictionless spending was specifically engineered to exploit this exact state of cognitive exhaustion. In the past, even if your rational brain was tired, the physical steps required to make a purchase acted as a massive buffer. Finding your wallet, driving to a store, or even just typing in a long string of credit card numbers took enough time for the logical brain to wake up and intervene. But one-click buying removes that buffer entirely. It closes the gap between the impulsive thought and the financial consequence down to a fraction of a second. We are essentially fighting millions of years of evolutionary wiring in an environment that is weaponizing our deepest psychological vulnerabilities against us. You cannot outsmart this machinery using willpower alone, because your willpower is exactly what they are systematically draining. To actually win this game and keep your money in your bank account, you have to stop relying on your psychology. You have to start building mechanical systems. You have to intentionally break the frictionless environment and build your own artificial barriers. Since we now understand that relying on pure willpower is a guaranteed way to fail, we have to completely change our strategy. We can no longer try to fight the algorithm inside our own heads, because our brains are simply outmatched by the supercomputers on the other side of the screen. Instead of trying to fix our psychology, we are going to fix our environment. We are going to build a mechanical defense system that automatically protects your money when your brain is too exhausted to do it. The very first step of this defense system is what we call the friction protocol. The friction protocol is incredibly simple, but it is also the most uncomfortable step you will take in this entire process. You are going to take 1 hour this weekend, sit down with your laptop and your phone, and systematically destroy the convenience of your digital life. You are going to go into every single shopping app, every web browser, and every digital wallet you own. And you are going to delete every single saved credit card and debit card. You are going to scorch the earth on your autofill settings so that your phone absolutely forgets how to pay for things. This means logging into your massive online retail accounts and removing the default payment methods. It means going into your food delivery apps and wiping the saved cards clean. It means digging into the deep settings of your smartphone and turning off the biometric payments that let you buy things with a double click and a face scan. You have to be completely ruthless about this purge. If an app has a way to charge you money without asking for a physical piece of plastic, that pathway must be permanently severed. When you do this, you are effectively taking a loaded weapon and completely disarming it. Your phone goes from being a highly dangerous financial extraction device back to being just a piece of glass and metal. You are manually rebuilding the exact same walls that the multi-billion-dollar tech companies spent the last decade tearing down. You are reintroducing the mechanical pain of paying into your daily life. Think about how this dramatically changes the exact same late-night scenario we talked about earlier. It is 11:30 at night. You are exhausted. You see the perfectly targeted ad for that $20 item. Your brain floods with dopamine, and the fantasy of how this item will change your life takes completely over. Your impulse control is at absolute zero. You tap the bright, glowing button that says buy now, fully expecting the quick dopamine hit of a completed transaction. But this time, the green check mark does not appear. The screen does not congratulate you on your purchase. Instead, a blank white form pops up, demanding a 16-digit credit card number, a physical expiration date, and a 3-digit security code. The frictionless slide into consumption just hit a massive, unyielding brick wall. The algorithm did its job perfectly. It got you to click, but your mechanical system just stepped in to save you. Now you are faced with a stark physical reality. In order to actually buy this item, you have to physically get out of your warm, comfortable bed. You have to put your feet on the cold floor, walk out of the bedroom, and navigate through the dark house to find your coat or your purse. You have to dig through your pockets, find your wallet, pull out the physical card, walk back to bed, and painstakingly type out 22 individual numbers and letters on a tiny glass screen. At this exact moment, human laziness, which is usually the very thing keeping you broke, suddenly becomes your greatest financial ally. The sheer physical effort required to complete the transaction forces your brain to wake up from its dopamine-induced trance. In the 2 or 3 minutes it takes to contemplate getting your wallet, your rational prefrontal cortex finally has enough time to boot up and assess the situation. Your logical brain looks at the $20 gadget, looks at the dark, cold hallway, and asks a very simple question. Is this random piece of plastic genuinely worth getting out of bed for right now? 9 times out of 10, the answer is a resounding no. The spell is completely broken. You lock your phone, you roll over, and you go to sleep. You did not have to use an ounce of willpower to save that $20. You saved it entirely through engineered laziness. This single moment of friction might only save you $20 tonight, but you have to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. If this mechanical barrier stops you from making just 3 impulsive purchases a week, that is $60 saved. Over the course of a single month, that is over $240 that stays safely in your checking account. You are literally keeping hundreds of dollars a month just by making it highly annoying to type on your phone. You will absolutely hate this system at first. When you legitimately need to order groceries or restock on household supplies, having to find your wallet and type in the numbers will feel incredibly frustrating and tedious. But you have to rebrand that frustration in your mind. That deep annoyance is exactly what you want to feel. You want shopping to feel like a tedious chore again, not a frictionless leisure activity. By making the process annoying, you completely neutralize the addictive entertainment value of modern consumerism. Once you have successfully implemented the friction protocol and stripped the convenience away from your devices, you need to build the second layer of your defense system. We call this layer the digital waiting room. While deleting your saved credit cards is an incredible way to stop an impulse purchase right in its tracks, you will still occasionally find yourself willing to get out of bed to go find your wallet. The digital waiting room is designed to catch those lingering, stubborn desires that manage to survive the initial wall of friction. The rule of the digital waiting room is brilliantly simple, yet it completely rewrites how you interact with online commerce. Here is how it works. You are still completely allowed to browse your favorite online stores. You are allowed to look at whatever you want, and you are entirely free to add anything you desire to your virtual shopping cart. But you are absolutely forbidden from clicking the checkout button for a mandatory period of 48 hours. No exceptions, no excuses, and no rationalizations. This specific time frame is not arbitrary. It is a calculated biological reset. By forcing a 48-hour pause, you are completely altering the psychological dynamic of the purchase. Notice that you are not telling yourself that you cannot have the item. Telling yourself a flat no immediately triggers a feeling of scarcity and restriction in your brain, which usually makes you want the item even more. Instead, you are simply telling your brain, not right now. You are delaying the gratification just long enough to let the chemical storm pass. During this 48-hour quarantine period, something magical happens inside your mind. The massive spike of dopamine that flooded your system when you first saw the product is finally given a chance to naturally subside. The artificial urgency manufactured by the bright red countdown timers on the website begins to fade away. Your brain slowly transitions out from the frantic, emotional state of wanting and settles back into its normal, rational baseline. Let us look at how this plays out in real life. Imagine it is Wednesday morning. You wake up and remember the sleek new kitchen gadget you added to your cart late Tuesday night. Because of your new rule, you cannot buy it yet. You go to work, you deal with your annoying boss, you eat lunch, and you navigate traffic. By the time Wednesday evening rolls around, that shiny gadget has already started to lose a little bit of its luster. The intense fantasy of how much it was going to change your life is starting to meet the reality of your ordinary routine. By Thursday night, the 48-hour window has finally closed. You are legally allowed to buy the item. You open the app, look at the cart, and a profound shift has occurred. The biological urge to acquire the object has completely evaporated. You look at the price tag, and instead of feeling excitement, you feel a deep sense of practical hesitation. You look around your kitchen, realize you have no counter space left, and you calmly hit the delete button. You feel absolutely no sense of loss, only a quiet victory. Of course, the multi-billion-dollar algorithms will not let you walk away from your cart without a fight. When you leave items in your digital waiting room, the system will panic. It will send you automated emails with subject lines like "you forgot something" or "your items are waiting for you." It might even try to tempt you by throwing in a 5% discount or a notification that stock is running dangerously low. You have to recognize these tactics for exactly what they are. These automated messages are not helpful reminders from a friendly shopkeeper. They are the desperate flailings of a machine that realizes it is losing its grip on your wallet. When you understand the manipulation behind these emails, they stop being tempting and start becoming highly annoying. To reinforce your digital waiting room, you should immediately unsubscribe from every single one of those promotional lists. Turn off the push notifications for your retail apps. Silence the artificial noise so your rational brain can think clearly. The ultimate benefit of the digital waiting room is that it forces you to evaluate utility over emotion. When you remove the adrenaline of the instant purchase, you are forced to ask practical questions. Do I actually need this? Where exactly will I store this in my house? Am I willing to trade 2 hours of my physical labor at work just to own this piece of plastic? When the dopamine is gone, the honest answers to these questions become glaringly obvious. By combining the physical annoyance of the friction protocol with the mandatory time delay of the digital waiting room, you have created a nearly impenetrable fortress around your bank account. You have engineered a massive psychological distance between the emotional trigger of an advertisement and the final financial action. You have officially taken the steering wheel back from the impulsive toddler inside your head and handed it safely back to the rational adult. Even with the friction protocol and the digital waiting room in place, we have to acknowledge a fundamental truth about human nature. Total deprivation simply doesn't work. If you tell yourself that you're never allowed to buy anything fun online ever again, you're just setting yourself up for a massive psychological rebellion. It's like going on a crash diet where you only eat plain chicken and broccoli. You might last 2 weeks, but eventually, you're going to break down and eat an entire chocolate cake in one sitting. We aren't trying to turn you into a financial monk who never enjoys the fruits of their labor. The goal isn't zero spending. The goal is intentional, controlled spending that doesn't quietly drain your primary bank account. To achieve this, we have to build the third and final layer of your automated defense system. This is what we call the burner budget. The burner budget relies on the concept of physical compartmentalization. Right now, your financial life is probably just one giant bucket. Your rent money, your grocery money, your emergency savings, and your late-night gadget money are all swirling around in the exact same checking account. When all your money is pooled together, a $20 purchase feels completely insignificant compared to the total balance. You log into your banking app, see $2,000 sitting there, and your brain instantly thinks that $20 won't make a dent. But as we've established, those tiny dents add up to a completely wrecked budget by the end of the month. We need to physically separate your living money from your impulse money. We need to build a hard, impenetrable wall between the funds you need to survive and the funds you're allowed to waste. Here's exactly how you're going to set up the burner budget. You're going to open a brand new, completely separate checking account at a completely different bank. Don't use the bank you currently use for your primary checking. You want this new account to be totally isolated. Make sure it's a completely free account with absolutely no overdraft protection and 0 monthly maintenance fees. Once the account is open, they'll mail you a physical debit card. This is your burner card. You're going to set up an automatic transfer from your main checking account to this new burner account. Pick a number that you're totally comfortable wasting every single month. It could be $50, it could be $100, or whatever fits your income. The amount doesn't matter, as long as it's a fixed, automated transfer that happens on payday. This burner card becomes your one and only lifeline to the world of online shopping. If you survive the friction protocol, and you wait out the 48-hour digital waiting room, and you still decide that you absolutely must have that random item, you're legally allowed to buy it, but there's a massive catch. You're only allowed to buy it using the funds available on the burner card. By doing this, you're weaponizing the psychological concept of scarcity to your ultimate advantage. Let's say you allocate $100 a month to your burner card. In the second week of the month, you find an item you want that costs $40. You wait your 2 days, you still want it, so you buy it with the burner card. You now have $60 left for the rest of the month. A week later, you see something else that costs $70. You go through the entire process, you pull out the burner card, and you type in the numbers. But the transaction declines. It fails. Why? Because you only have $60 left in your impulse budget. Your main checking account might have $3,000 sitting in it, but that money is completely protected by the firewall you built. There's no overdraft. There's no tapping into your rent money. The computer simply says no. You've successfully built a physical boundary that stops you from cheating on your own goals. When the burner card is empty, your online shopping is officially shut down until the first day of the next month. You're forced to wait, not through sheer willpower, but through mechanical reality. What's truly amazing about this system is the profound sense of emotional relief it brings. When you buy something using your burner card, there's absolutely zero guilt attached to the purchase. You don't have to feel bad or wonder if you're ruining your financial future. That money was specifically pre-funded to be burned on whatever silly, impulsive things you wanted. You've created a safe, contained playground for your dopamine hits, while keeping your serious adult money securely locked away. Now, you might be thinking that setting up all these walls for $20 here and there is a massive overreaction. Why go through the absolute hassle of opening new bank accounts, dealing with burner cards, and deleting all your saved credit card information? Just to stop buying random phone chargers and cheap sweaters? To answer that, we have to look at the undeniable, cold, hard math of what frictionless spending is actually costing you over the span of a decade. Let's take a very conservative, everyday example. Imagine you are losing just $15 a day to frictionless, impulsive digital spending. That is incredibly easy to do in the modern world. It is a digital streaming subscription you forgot about, an upgraded meal delivery fee because you were too tired to cook, and a random late-night purchase on a Tuesday. $15 feels like absolute pennies in the grand scheme of your monthly salary. Your brain barely registers the loss, but let's multiply that out and look at the actual damage. $15 a day equals $450 every single month. That is a massive car payment. That is a significant portion of rent in some places. That is $5,400 a year that is quietly leaking out of your life without bringing you any lasting joy, utility, or financial security. Over the course of just 10 years, you are handing over $54,000 to massive tech companies entirely in $20 increments. Now, let's look at the truly terrifying part of this equation. This is where we have to talk about compounding interest. What if, instead of letting that $450 a month slip through your fingers on impulse buys, you aggressively captured it? What if your friction protocol and your burner budget successfully trapped that money inside your bank account, and you redirected it into a basic, boring index fund tracking the broader stock market? Historically, the stock market has returned an average of about 8 to 10% per year over long periods of time. If you took that exact same $450 a month and invested it at a conservative 8% return, the math completely transforms your financial trajectory. After 10 years, you wouldn't just have your original $54,000 saved. Because of the absolute magic of compound interest, your money would have made its own money and you would be sitting on over $80,000. Let's push the timeline out even further to really show the magnitude of the wealth you are currently giving away to algorithm. If you keep up that exact same habit for 20 years, the difference becomes completely life-altering. 20 years of blowing $15 a day leaves you with a house full of useless plastic garbage that you eventually threw away. But 20 years of investing that captured money leaves you with a staggering portfolio of over $260,000. Think deeply about what $260,000 represents. It is not just a meaningless number glowing on a computer screen. That is the ability to walk away from a toxic job without panicking about your bills. That is the down payment on a dream home for your family. That is the freedom to completely change the trajectory of your life, or the ability to retire several years earlier than you ever thought possible. All of that pure freedom is currently being traded away for temporary dopamine hits. When you look at the math this way, you realize a harsh truth. The $20 gadget you bought last night didn't actually cost you $20. It cost you the massive future growth of that money. Every time you bypass your logical brain and click buy now, you are literally stealing from your older, future self. You are trading thousands of dollars of future financial security and peace of mind for a fleeting moment of excitement today. The giant tech companies understand this math perfectly. They know that if they can siphon just a tiny bit of your income every single day, it translates into billions of dollars in profit for their shareholders over the next decade. They are using the massive power of compounding against you. Your job is to simply flip the script. By building friction into your spending, you are taking that compound interest back and putting it to work for your own family instead of theirs. This is exactly why building the mechanical systems we talked about is not an overreaction at all. It is the most rational, logical thing you can possibly do to protect yourself in a frictionless economy. You are not just saving a few bucks here and there to be frugal. You are systematically plugging the tiny holes in your financial bucket so you can finally start building real generational wealth. You are protecting your future freedom from the algorithms designed to strip it away. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but what if I genuinely need to buy things online? Am I supposed to completely isolate myself from the modern world and live like a hermit in the woods just to save some cash? That is a completely fair question. And it is usually the first line of defense our brains throw up when we feel our comfortable habits being threatened. We immediately jump to the extreme worst-case scenario of total deprivation. But remember, the goal here is not to punish you or strip the convenience out of your legitimate needs. The goal is simply to separate the mindless emotional spending from the intentional, necessary spending. The systems we just built do not prevent you from paying your utility bills, ordering your weekly groceries, or buying a new pair of winter coats for your kids when the old ones finally wear out. What they do is prevent you from buying a cheap plastic gadget at midnight just because your brain was begging for a hit of dopamine. You are entirely allowed to spend your money on things that bring you genuine, lasting value. You just have to prove to yourself that the value is real by stepping over a few mechanical hurdles first. If a purchase is genuinely important, you will gladly walk to the other room to get your wallet. To prove how effective this shift can be, I want to give you one specific, microscopic action to take in the next 24 hours. I am not asking you to overhaul your entire financial life today. I am not asking you to open new bank accounts or build the full burner budget right this second. That can feel incredibly overwhelming when you are just starting out. Instead, I just want you to do one tiny thing tonight. I want you to pick the single shopping app on your phone that you know is your absolute biggest weakness, and I want you to go in and delete your saved credit card information. Just one app. Do not delete the app itself. Leave it right there on your home screen where it always is. Just go into the account settings, find the Payment Methods tab, and hit Remove. That is your only homework for the next 24 hours. It will take you less than 60 seconds to accomplish. But by taking that one tiny physical action, you are planting a massive flag in the ground. You are telling the algorithms that you are no longer playing by their rules. You are officially taking the first step to reclaim your digital environment. When you finally take that step, you will start to realize something incredibly profound about the nature of money. We spend our entire lives being brainwashed by advertisements telling us that wealth is about acquiring more stuff. We are taught that the ultimate goal of working hard is to surround ourselves with luxury vehicles, designer clothes, and the latest digital gadgets. The system desperately wants you to believe that spending money is the exact same thing as being wealthy. But that is the biggest lie of modern consumerism. Look, here's the truth. True wealth has absolutely nothing to do with what you own. True wealth is completely invisible. It is the money you did not spend on a fleeting impulse buy. It is the money safely invested in a boring index fund, quietly growing in the background while you sleep. Wealth is not a collection of items gathering dust in your garage or sitting neglected in your closet. Wealth is having options. It is having the absolute freedom to make choices based on what you actually want to do with your life, rather than what you are financially forced to do. Every single time you resist the urge to tap that one-click checkout button, you are not just saving a $20 bill. You are literally buying a tiny piece of your own freedom back from the machine. You are buying the ability to sleep peacefully at night without the heavy knot of financial anxiety sitting in your chest. You are buying the power to eventually walk away from a boss you hate or a career that drains your soul. You are trading temporary, meaningless objects for permanent, deeply meaningful peace of mind. Think back to that midnight scenario we talked about at the very beginning. You are lying in bed, exhausted, scrolling through your phone, searching for just a tiny bit of relief from a stressful world. You still deserve that relief. You still deserve to decompress and enjoy your life after a hard week of work. But you do not have to buy a useless piece of plastic to get that feeling. You can find that exact same relief by logging into your bank account and seeing a number that makes you feel incredibly safe, secure, and powerful. You have the power to break this cycle. You do not need to rely on a massive well of willpower that you simply do not have. You just need to be smart enough to recognize that the game is rigged and brave enough to start putting up some physical walls. Let the algorithms throw their targeted ads at you. Let them run their bright red countdown timers. It simply will not matter anymore, because your money is safely locked behind a fortress of calculated friction. The modern world wants you to be a mindless consumer, quietly feeding the machine with your hard-earned cash until the day you retire. But you get to choose a different path entirely. You get to step off the frictionless slide and plant your feet firmly on solid ground. It starts today with one single deleted credit card, and it ends with you finally owning your own financial future. I want you to think about the last impulsive thing you bought online late at night. What was it, and where is it sitting right now? Did it actually bring you the lasting happiness the advertisement promised, or did it just end up in a drawer after 2 days? Let me know down in the comments. I read every single one, and it is incredibly powerful when we all realize we are fighting the exact same invisible battle.